The sun over Georgia was gently ascending, and the beautiful bugler was barely beginning to demolish the dreams of the boys at Fort Benning, and the chef was polluting the plates. Corporal Cornpuff was humping his Hummer when the shriek of a siren disrupted his slumber, announcing a somewhat disgruntling number of civilians outside the gates.
Well, the coffee was bland, and the speeches were blander, as the squadron commander began to meander in the manner of Hannibal and Alexander, and the grunts were beginning to grunt. He said, see the protesters infesting this sector, well, man, let's begin exercising the specter in the manner of Hector and Hannibal Lecter. These nuns are a menacing front. But then me, the valley, and 100 nuns marched up Zuckerman Avenue. And the army commander put his head in his hands as he heard the proverbial thunder of shoes.
And he spoke not a word about the look on his face, man. The whole army base better hide in the basement. Strategically speaking, there isn't a thing to be done. In the face of me, the valley, and 100 nuns. Corporal Cologne called to Colonel Cologne from the outermost reaches of the protest zone. He said, I can't get a signal on my cellular phone, and I sort of suspect foul play. Colonel Cologne, he replied with a scowl, from the tip of his toupee to the brink of his jowl. Hey, only the army's allowed to play foul, those protesters are gonna pay. And as the general's jaws clamped down on his denture, he said, bunch of grandmas for the state penitentiary. They look like deposits from the 17th century, and that's where the law's gonna send them. Well, then a soldier in camouflage stood up and stated, but your argument, sir, has been neatly negated by the fact that the army itself is outdated, so their demos are a perfect addendum. And then me, the valley, and 100 nuns came marching up Ingersoll Street. And as they were amassing round the school of assassins, the whole of Fort Benning turned white as a sheet. And Colonel Cologne was too tongue-tied to answer when Corporal Cologne said, we don't stand a chance, sir. All we've got are millions of tanks and guns, whereas they've got me, the valley, and 100 nuns. Men were running like rabbits from those heroes and habits, and the sergeant was struggling to stare down the abyss, and the songs Mimi sung at the top of her lungs made the King's-on song sound like Barney. The commander was mumbling, where do they come from? It's 100 nuns. What a numbing conundrum, so forget about the gunnery and get me to a nunnery. Oh, please let me out of the army. Well, the view from the war room was less than auspicious, and the boys in munitions were becoming seditious, and the chief statistician and all the tacticians in strategic command had vamoosed. But they left a report whose conclusions were telling. If you sort of ignored all the grammar and spelling, it said passive resistance is strangely compelling, which none of us could deduce. And when the sergeant screamed charge, they're surrounding the fort. A small silence got large as the soldier said, sorta, if you keep screaming orders, you'll bust your aorta. But the sergeant disregarded his health. So when the army gets arduous, your skins get thin. Boys, I'm gonna discharge you as soon as we win. Put a lid on it, Sarge, we're not waiting till then. Why don't you handle this battle yourself? They unloaded his Uzi when they brought the bad news, so he wouldn't go shooting the bearer. Sir, all of the squadrons are quitting their quadrants, and the nuns are unleashing their pacifist terror. Well, the outlook was dreary, but it got even drearier when Mother Superior pierced the interior, and that was the day we saw the SOA overrun by a team of me, the valley, and 100 nuns. You can listen through the gaps in the distant thunderclaps as the general yaps at his men. He's saying, promise me, private, that we're gonna survive. And is he down there talking to his privates again? Private, hear my brain's going mushy and moister. They're cracking Fort Benning in half like an oyster. Can you give me their headquarters? Put up the cloister. Can you tell me what this is about? Sir, I ventured outside and I spoke to a sister who put us on a listserv for war tax resistors. I was going to arrest her, but I'm getting a blister, so I think I'm gonna sit this one out. Well, the boys in the fort were dismantling the mortars when the corporal reported to the general's quarters. 3/4 of the fort would be following orders if you order the fort to surrender. Because, sir, I assure you, you'll be disconcerted when you learn that the current cadets have deserted. And I've just been alerted that the colonel's converted and the sergeant's rethinking his gender. And the nuns are invading and they're calmly persuading our commander to sign up as a monk. Also, Corporal Clone and I just started dating, and he's probably waiting for me in my bunk. So we're abandoning camp till the nuns overwhelm it. Sir, might I suggest that you tie-dye your helmet? You need a few colors and khakis as dull as it comes. But there's still army bases all over the place, so the real work has only begun. And they're saying Fort Benning is just the beginning. Tomorrow they're heading for Camp Pendleton. Corporal, give me your honest assessment before you
you go trading your vest for investment? Do you as a realist believe that this thing can be done by 100 idealists?
Oh no, sir, 101. So the next time you see me, I'll be marching with Mimi LaValley and 100 nuns.